back at it again, baby, and we got Thomas Sowell with Trevor Noah on slavery and reparations. It's gonna be a very interesting debate, I'm sure. So yeah, like, share, comment, subscribe if you're new. Go and join the new Discord server too. It's the first link in the description box below. Let's just jump straight on into it, baby. Let's go.
So to your question, I think you have to understand what the word reparations means first. So reparations, you are repairing something that you have broken. You are paying for something that you were supposed to pay for. I'm not saying that there aren't people living in America today who are suffering and are going through pain and strife because of what's happening when it comes to, the machines taking jobs, factories becoming industrialized, etc. But reparations is a specific conversation about a specific time in America, and that is black people were slaves.
Article that got a lot of attention in The Atlantic a couple of years ago called The Case for Reparations by Ta-Nehisi Coates. Quote, "White supremacy is a force so fundamental to America that it is difficult to imagine the country without it. Reparations is the price we must pay to see ourselves squarely." Close quote. And Tom Sowell, who actually saw Jim Crow with his own eyes and experienced it, responds how?
It would be nice to know his evidence for what he said, just to be old-fashioned about it. No, it was a rotten system. But I don't know how we get from that to reparations. What we see in the United States in terms of the bad things, you see all around the world. If you were to give reparations to everyone whose ancestors had been slaves, I suspect that you would have to give reparations to more than half the entire population of the globe. Slavery was not confined to one set of races. I suspect that most of the people who were either slaves or slave owners around the world were neither white nor black. I mean, this was a universal curse of the human species.
Africa, the Middle East, Asia, slavery took place everywhere.
And it continued elsewhere long after it was abolished in the Western countries.
Right.
You know what I mean? I've even heard people say like, oh, but there were some of the Irish who were indentured. Like, yeah, slavery. Look at the numbers, look at the time, look at the level of work. You could not work toward your freedom. For most black people in America, this was a time when you lived and died as a slave. And so that's what reparations is about.
The other thing, I have a slight sidebar in there on the history of slavery. Mm-hmm. The history of slavery existed all over the world for thousands of years among all sorts of people.
That is a fact.
As far back as the history of the human species goes. It's one of many evils that the left tries to localize, when in fact it is a universal evil. But more than that, as much as slavery is repudiated around the world today, prior to the 18th century, I know of no serious effort to abolish the institution anywhere.
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 Not in Africa, not in the Arabian
not
world.
in Africa in the 21st century. When Adam Smith wrote in 1776 that the only place in the world where slavery had been abolished completely was Western Europe. And so this was
as late as the year this country was founded.
Yes. And so the idea that this is something that the United States had that nobody else had, or the other countries that didn't have, it's been estimated that there are more slaves in India than in the entire Western Hemisphere. And that's and that's before and after Columbus got here.
And so
That's crazy. I've been a little bit quiet, just listening and taking it all in, because I do have an opinion on this whole topic and this discussion. And I've actually stated it before in a previous video. I don't remember exactly which video that was, but I've stated my opinion on this before. But I'm gonna sit back a little bit longer and hear what everybody has to say, and then I'll state, my true feelings on this whole situation. And obviously, you guys, let me know how you feel about it in the comment section, please.
Hear what you're saying, but I think that's a completely separate conversation that needs to be had about the now. Because if you are not careful, what you then do is you combine everybody's suffering into the same bowl, and you make it seem like all injustices have the same weighting, and they don't. Just like crimes. Theft isn't the same as murder. We don't try them the same way. And as much as there is a white person who's suffering today, I feel for anybody who's suffering, because I know what it's like to be poor. I know what it's like to suffer. I didn't come from a wealthy family. We struggled when I was growing up. but I also understand that there are levels of that suffering, you know? And so sometimes white people, it does block a white person because you go, white privilege, and a person goes, I'm poor and I'm white, where's the privilege? You know, white people are like, I wish I could activate my white privilege. I wish I could do it right now. White privilege, give me something. I get that. I get that. Trust me, I get it. It is hard to accept that you have benefits because of the color of your skin if you cannot see the benefits that you have.
The book that I'm writing now, I discovered this is true.
Because maybe they don't exist. I don't know. I'm just out here talking. You know what I mean? Anyway.
Not only in the United States, it's true in England, and the situation is wholly different. And yet, if you read the data, for example, from London, the educational tests and so forth, you see that there, immigrants from Africa pass this test they have. I'm talking about low-income people now. Nearly 60% of the time. Blacks from the Caribbean, like 50%, so on. Native-born whites in the same low-income bracket pass this test 30% of the time. And it's the same thing. The foreign people come in, they haven't had generations of being steeped in the welfare state vision, the vision of grievances, victimology, and resentments, the idea that there are enemies out there dedicated to keeping you down. That's the message that's been pumped into the head of the white lower class in Britain, and that's the image that's been pumped into the black low-income people in the United States, and the results are the same in both cases.
But the thing I try.
Very, very interesting. I didn't know about that. I didn't know about that, and I'm glad that we have videos like these that can expose us to new information and new ideas and things like that. It's good info. That's good info.
To explain to a person is, think of it more like golf. Don't think of it as privilege, then think of it like a handicap, right? In golf, they acknowledge that you are in a position where you need so many advantages to be competitive in the game.
Is that we ought not to be doing this?
There are various laws and policies that benefit one group at the expense of another. But I think affirmative action has the distinction.
Okay, I got to touch on that whole handicap thing. I just, for me personally, no, I don't want a handicap. And I've spoken about this in a previous video. I don't remember if it was a Thomas Sowell video or if it was a Jordan Peterson video or the Ben Shapiro. I don't remember. But my thing is, I want a fair shake. Whatever it is that I want to do in life or pursue in life, I want a fair shake, right? That's all I'm asking for. A fair opportunity. Matter of fact, I think it was a Jordan Peterson video. We don't have to have the same outcome, but I want to have the same opportunity. That's it. That's all I'm asking for. And I feel like we all would ask for that. Like I don't think any of us would be like, oh, well, no, not everybody should get the same opportunity. Matter of fact, I think everybody agreed, at least as far as I saw in the comment section of that Jordan Peterson video, as far as the opportunity goes. We all should have the right to have the opportunity. That's all I'm asking for. I don't need no handicap. And also, like, I feel like it wouldn't even feel as good, Like, I don't know. Maybe that's just me. Maybe that's just me. Maybe that's being foolish. Like, yo, Rich, take that shit, man. If they gonna do half it, I don't know. But yeah, let me know in the comment section what you think.
Of being one that it harms everybody, though in different ways. And so there's a lot of evidence that there are black kids who have all the qualifications to be successes in college, who nevertheless are failures because they are systematically mismatched with institutions whose standards they don't meet, even though they may meet the standards of 80 or 90% of the colleges in America. I remember first aware of this when I was teaching at Cornell, and I found that half the black students at Cornell were on some kind of academic probation. And so I went over to the administration building and looked up the SATs of these students. The average black student at Cornell at that time scored at the 75th percentile.
Which is pretty darn good.
Yes. And so that means that in most colleges in this country, they would have no trouble, and many of them would be on the dean's list. But at Cornell, the average liberal arts student at that time was in the 99th percentile. And when you're teaching the students like that, you teach at a pace that most people of any race cannot keep up with. And it was always complained that I was assigning all kinds of reading. But heck, I'm teaching kids who are in the top 1%. They can keep up with the reading that I'm assigning.
So Cornell was taking very talented black kids and spending 4 years teaching them to feel inadequate.
Yes, and succeeding at that.
Right? So what they say is you have a handicap of 15, so that means like you're going to be hitting from this tee and you get more chances to get the ball in because we understand the position you're in. And if you're a black person in America, from slavery, from day one.
Pondering all this, I noticed something, a column that you wrote, this is a couple of years ago, in which you rebutted Nicholas Kristof of the New York Times. And Kristof had ascribed the gaps between African Americans and whites in America, gaps in wealth, gaps in educational achievement, the usual gaps, to, and this is a quotation from Kristof, to the lingering effects of slavery, close quote.
Oh, yes.
And here's Tom Sowell, quote, if we wanted to be serious about evidence, we might compare where blacks stood 100 years after the end of slavery with where they stood after 30 years of the liberal welfare state. In other words, we could compare hard evidence on the legacy of slavery with hard evidence on the legacy of liberals, close quote. And
the number of injustices that have held black people back in America amount to an insurmountable, like you look at black people's freedom, you look at black people's land, just land alone. The amount of wealth you can acquire over time if you own land is exponential because you have the land, you have the fact that you can borrow based on the land, you have the fact that you can use the money that you have borrowed to grow more wealth, you can use it to grow your family's wealth. Just taking that away from black people alone.
Right, right. And also, if you think you've been done, if you think you've been wronged, your recourse might also be more likely to politics to try to redress this whole redistribution,
Yes. Oh, yeah.
rather than hit the books, acquire the skills, get the job.
But the other thing too, one of my favorite statistic in there is that the poverty rate among blacks as a whole is 22%. Among whites as a whole is 11%, and among black married couples is 7.5%.
So
And it's been and black married couples have never had a poverty rate as high as 10% in any year since 1994.
all right. So to the cry, what is to be done? Tom Sowell answers:
It's been done.
get
but-
an education, get married, have kids after you get married. That's sort of the answer, right?
Well, yes, and the things that work for other people tend to work pretty generally.
All right.
Is crippling them. And so you combine that with slavery, and then you look at Jim Crow laws. You didn't let black people in America live in the areas that they wanted to live in. They couldn't get loans from the banks that they wanted to get loans from. And then on top of that, when they started getting the loans from American banks were found to be giving them higher interest rates when in fact they were the same risk as many of the other races that they were giving loans to. So when you combine all of those things, I think it's safe to say that black Americans have a conversation that they need to be having with the United States. Doesn't involve me, doesn't involve white people, it's like, yo, American government, meet the black people. That's it. Have that conversation.
In terms of political,
My thing is, first off, where's all this money going to come from? Who's paying for it? Or are we taking money from somewhere else? We taking money from the military. We're taking money from these other different things. So that's the first thing. Second thing, slavery wasn't yesterday. People were whipped and chained and treated like, animals. That's a fact. You know what I mean? Like, that can't be debated. There's no feelings involved with that, right? But at the same time, I haven't been enslaved. I haven't been whipped and, beaten or anything like that. And that's not to diminish what happened before. I didn't go through that. That didn't happen to me. So if we were gonna give reparations, you should have gave it to them a long time ago. You should have gave it to the people that it happened to. That's like my grandparents doing something, but I'm still getting the blame for it. Bitch, I ain't do that shit. The fuck? My grandpa gravely hurt that person that put him under a tombstone. I ain't do that. Why am I having to pay for what he did? Plus, on top of that, there's already enough division going on in this country and in this world, really. Now you're going to force groups of people to pay for or to pay another group of people, which I guarantee you is going to cause even more division, because they looking like, bro, why the fuck am I paying them? Like, I ain't do nothing wrong. I'm sure everybody across the board can agree. Like, we sorry for what happened, but I'm sure my white brothers and sisters, my Latino brothers and sisters, my Asian brothers and sisters, and so forth and so forth, all y'all looking like, bro, I didn't do that shit, and I never would, but I didn't do it. Them other folks did it. Like, if you was gonna make somebody pay, you should have made them pay. But me, I work hard for my bread. And you mean to tell me, like, I gotta break bread? Like, listen, I don't mind helping folks. I'm sure a lot of y'all don't mind helping folks, but like, you telling me that I'm forced to break bread with somebody else because of something that somebody else did? Bitch, please. Because I would think the same. See, the thing about me is I try to put myself in other people's shoes. Like, it's easy to just stay in your own lane and only think for yourself, but put yourself in somebody else's shoes. If I had to pay for what my grandparents did, no, I'm not paying. Kiss my black ass. You know what I'm saying? I'm not claiming to have all the answers. I'm not saying that I'm right on anything that you know what I mean? It's just the way that I feel. If y'all got any more facts or statistics that go against anything that I just said, let me know in the comment section, please. Please inform me. If I am ill-informed, please inform me. That's part of what all this is about. And give me the information that I need to change my mind.
Political leaders, all the incentives politically are for black leaders to blame all problems in the black community on the larger society. And that enables them to take on the role of being the defender of the black community against enemies, which in turn creates the situation in which many blacks don't feel that anything that they do is going to help themselves unless it's done politically as a group. That there's no point. I mean, why would you, if you believe what they say, why would you want to knock yourself out in the school knowing that the man is not going to let you get anywhere? One of the most pathetic things I heard in recent years was a young black man saying that, at one point he thought he would join the Air Force and become a pilot. And then he says he realized that the white man is not going to let a black man become a pilot. And he was saying this decades after the Tennessee Airmen had established their reputation in combat in Europe. But the hopelessness is one of the big products of the race industry. That you have no chance. I remember giving a talk at Marquette, and at the end of the talk,
one of the most valuable things you can give someone is hope. And hope doesn't cost anything. I take that back. Hope does cost a little bit of time, which time is very valuable because you can't buy it. I don't care how rich or poor you are. You can't purchase time. So I do take that. I take that back. In terms of money, it costs nothing. Monetarily, it costs nothing to give somebody hope. But hope is one of the most valuable things that you can give someone, because like he said, if you're hopeless, it's a terrible place to be. Terrible place to be. Just going from hopeless to having some hope can drastically change the outcome of a situation. Like you said, if that guy would have had some hope, he could have been an airman. But because he was hopeless, he'll never even sniff being an airman.
Among the questions that was asked, a young black man got up and he said, even though I am graduating from Marquette University, what hope is there for me? And having gone through college when I was in the 50s, I don't remember any blacks saying that in the 1950s, when there was a lot more obstacles to overcome than there were when this guy is graduating from Marquette. But you have to produce that kind of feeling in order to serve the interests of those in the race industry.
Somewhere, watching this interview, there's a young Thomas Sowell. There's an African American who's smart and wants to do something with his life. It seems to me we've already got one piece of advice you'd offer to him is stay away from the races industry. Stay away from the race hustlers. What advice would you give young Thomas Sowell? How do you make something of yourself as an African American in America today?
Suit up and lace your boots up. Get to work. Let's rock.
The way anybody else would. You equip yourself with skills that people are willing to pay for.
All right.
I love it. You equip yourself with skills that people are willing to pay for. Simple, simple, not overly complicated. Wasn't this long soliloquy, goddamn essay. Oh, but you step one, you do this, step two, blah, 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 three. You equip yourself with skills that people are willing to pay for. I don't care what it is. You could be a plumber. Plumbers can make some damn good money. Trust me, I know, because I had to pay a goddamn plumber. Motherfucker murdered my pockets. I'm like, shit. But I need this work done, so, man. But yeah, if you disagree, let me know in the comment section and why. And if you, like I said, if you feel I'm wrong, man, please give me some more information on the situation. And obviously, if you guys have any more videos like this, continue to send them my way. Yeah, your boy will continue to check them out. Loving this journey, loving these videos, learning new information all over the place. It's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. But love y'all. Y'all be safe, and I'm out.